Hey everybody, Dustin DePirac here.
Jeremy Price here.
Yeah, had some computer issues for there was a reason I paused. Anyway, we're coming to you to talk to you about the annual. We had the annual media challenge today. I think some of you probably enjoyed the notion of us talking about embarrassing ourselves, so we decided to do this annually, and also we kind of had a media day to a degree. We got to actually talk to more or less everybody on the basketball team for the first time. God, I don't even know how long. I mean, I'm not sure. It might have been back to the season, to be totally honest with you. So it's got a lot of stuff to say. First, we'll make fun of ourselves and tell you just how bad that went. But actually, Jeremy Price had himself a good day. Jeremy Price was your writers and students 3-point shooting champion. Jeremy Price, who and you have a pretty good record from before, right? Like you had some high school accolades in as a jump shooter, yes, if I'm not mistaken. Is that correct?
That's kind of my thing.
Okay, so Jay Price comes in. Cold-blooded, knocks down 8 threes in the 3-point shooting contest. Comes back, went one-on-one with Michael Farish, who's one of the student TV guys. I'm not sure if he's IU Sportscom or IUS TV. I can't remember. I think they're probably both do the same thing anyway. But that kid was doing it on 1 foot, by the way. He was recently in a motorcycle accident. He still managed to hit 6 threes the first time, which was pretty impressive. But then he tangled with Jay Price after that. Straight up 45 seconds. How many can you make? Price comes back and knocks down 8 again. So it was an impressive game by the master here.
Well, thank you. Couldn't lose to a guy wearing a boot.
Yeah, no, and the thing is, but he crushed all of us. I hit 2. I was really not happy with myself. And I think part of it was I was trying to be too slick with it. I kept just looking for the ball and putting the shot up and not even really concerning myself with where it was going. I probably should have stopped and really kind of calibrated what was going on. So 2 out of probably at 45 seconds, which probably means that was 2 for probably 20. Which is sort of embarrassing and really sort of lame. As once again we had to do stretching and stuff like that. We worked with Janae Jackson again. Basically, he's beat the crap out of me for 3 straight years, and it's kind of rough, And we're not even really asking us to do much. I think that's kind of an issue of getting old. But I think he thoroughly enjoys just beating the crap out of us. How was your first Janae experience?
It still hurts. And you're right. He didn't really ask anything all that complicated, but it was asking us to use muscles that as writers we don't really use at all. Yeah, hamstrings are a thing that I don't squat very much ever in any way. There's not a lot of I haven't had to defend anybody in a long time. So you find out what those are about, and they hurt. Yes. They really do. There's a lot of things he does and there was also coordination things. He made us look pretty dumb with one particular sort of routine that they do that they just sort of had to watch one time and they remember, forever. It's just little kind of choreographed stuff, and we just embarrassed ourselves on that pretty bad. Getting quickly though, we did play games, and we whooped up, believe it or not. Now, part of the reason we whooped up is because we had 2 kids that were under 22 on our team. And that helps. Thank you, Alex McCarthy and Justin Albers, for your contributions to us old guys, because that worked. Those 2 are good. Yeah,
those 2 are good.
They are good, and they're able to run the floor, so the rest of us don't have to.
Exactly. That's really key. I mean, Albers was outstanding in transition. McCarthy, skinny as he may be, was an absolute post presence, dominant on the boards. So Price and I just had to contribute sort of little things. Jay Price was kind of hanging out on the perimeter and just knocking down threes. I was annoying people. That's what I do best. That's really what I do professionally, if you think about it. Now I was just doing it physically. So managed to carve out a couple steals, get the ball to Albers in transition, and just kind of let him go with it.
You were good as a defensive pest.
Pest was really weird. I'm not a good defender. I'm not principled. I don't really keep people in front of me necessarily, but I just sort of slap them a few times and hope they get rid of the ball. So anyway, but it was better than usual. We were lucky. We played a group that was considerably older. It really wasn't fair that we got Alex McCarthy and Justin Albers and Osterman, Jay Price, and it was sort of Hutch, Pete DePremio. They did get Corey Barnett at the end, though. They got Corey Barnett for the second half, and Jeff Howard was apparently giving free points. I don't know if you knew this, but Jeff Howard was doing the scoreboard. He gave him 10 free points, and really, I don't get it, Jeff. What was that all about?
But in the end, we still won.
We still won by about 20. I think it was 40-something, whatever at half, but I don't know. So we look good there. But anyway, so enough about us, because you don't really care about us playing basketball. You care about Indiana playing basketball.
today was, like I said, the first day in a long time that we've really got to talk to the guys, just sort of find out, what they've been up to, what they've been doing. I guess just one thing that I kind of took from today, they talked a lot about sort of I guess you could call it a mentorship program, really, that the freshmen underwent. I think this is really the first time that they had, guys who, like veterans who had been there, veterans who knew what it was like to win, had finally won at this level, and they could finally kind of really take young guys under their wings. I think Yogi Ferrell was working with Cody Zeller and Jordy Holes, both two Indiana elite kids that he knew, obviously, the other point guard, and obviously Cody, who he'd played with together at AAU. Jeremy Hollowell said he was undertaken by Remy Abel and Austin Etherington. Oddly enough, Christian Watford told me that Hollowell was his guy, so I'm sort of confused, because to me, Watford and Hollowell work. They're interesting because they're like the same guy, strangely enough, like 4 years removed and born 20 states away. But they're like, the same type of kid. They've got that sort of laid back thing that, sometimes coaches just want to grab them and shake them. You don't realize how into it they are. And they have the same kind of game, that sort of inside outside, 6'7", 6'8" guy who can play this, 3 of the 4. So they're very, very similar. I'm kind of surprised if they aren't together, although Watford says they are. That kind of makes sense. I believe Perea said he was working with Watford. Who was the other one? Were you there for that one?
Peter was working with
Elston and Will, maybe.
I forget.
Maybe Elston and Vic. I can't remember. I feel like I should know that one, but one way or the other. So basically, they've all gotten kind of in mentorship programs, and they really just, everybody kind of took them on the wing to be like, hey, this is what you do from day to day. Like, this is how you practice. This is what you do in open gym. This is what you lift. This is just how you take care of all these things. And one of my favorite stories, I think, that came from this, Derek Elston was talking about trying to get Peter Jerkin's hands better, and Elston took him into Cook Hall, and they threw baseball. Strangely enough, and Peter Jerkin's from South Sudan. He has never played baseball in his life. This is never touched the baseball. Probably. I'm not sure if he knew what it was, but Elston had him in there throwing baseball. But apparently it worked. Apparently he got his hands a lot better from throwing baseball with Derek. Derek took Jordy's glove, Jordy Hall's glove, to go play baseball with him. But it seems like they've, it seems like they got together pretty fast. I think because of some of the things they were able to do in the summer, and then all these sorts of things.
Yeah, that's definitely the thing, that the program is finally to the point where there can be some continuity, some rollover with some junior and senior classes that have been through things and experienced things and can pass that down. And they're similar experiences. In the past, there might have been juniors and seniors, but they didn't have similar experiences at all.
Right.
So that's a lot different thing now.
Yeah, it was all, they were very much just climbing this hill, and all. It seemed like even the seniors were kind of were always kind of telling the freshmen in previous years, like, you don't even know what it was like. I can't even explain it to you in a way. I mean, especially the guys that were there for the 6-25 season, like, Verdell Jones and Devin Dumas and all those kind of guys that were kind of around for that era, or just telling guys, like, I don't know, it's never going to be like that again. Like, is all I can tell you. You're never going to experience that. This is, almost like my experience has no value to you in a way, because you're never going to go through that. But this group can say, these older guys can say, we've won. We've seen, not necessarily the mountaintop, we've seen at least 3/4 of the way up it. And we can kind of tell you how to get there. There's going to be a point where they all kind of have to come together and take it that extra distance. But they've at least been there. They know what the map looks like. They know what the path is. They can finally say, hey, this is how you win games. This is what we do. It seemed like they seem to have come together quick. One other thing that helped, they obviously had the summer. They were able to work together a lot more. They were allowed to have, I think, 2 hours a week of on-court instruction with coaches. Never had that before. It's the first time. It's brand new NCAA rule. That seems to have made a difference as well. Another thing we talked to him about, obviously, was the hype. Basically, this is the first time this team has ever dealt with hype. Last year they were picked to finish 9th, I think, in an informal Big Ten poll. I picked 6th, though. I picked them 6th. I just, Crean called everybody out for that at the, at his auditorium speech. I picked them 6th. I was only one off. They finished 5th. What did you get from them in terms of, how they seem to be handling this, how they seem to be handling the idea of being preseason #1, being on all these magazines and that sort of thing?
Yeah, there's basically two responses to that, and the first is that, well, we're not thinking about it, we're not paying attention to it. It's nice, it's great, but it's not something that we can concern ourselves with. We've got to focus on what we can control, which is the here and now, and not look in the long term, obviously. And the second response is that it's nice to have that versus being picked 8th, 9th, 10th, and being pretty much an afterthought when it comes to the Big Ten, let alone the national scene. And so you have to figure it feels kind of nice to have not just the local media, but the national media,
right,
calling you and taking photos and doing magazine covers and
it's a big change, I think, just because you go from nothing to everything, and it is opposed to sort of something more gradual, where it's like, okay, now they're an NIT team, now they're an NCAA team, now they're a Sweet 16 team, or there's something like that, where there's sort of this gradual kind of increase in expectations. I mean, it's just a quantum leap, compared to where it was even a year ago. I think people had a little bit of higher expectations for last year's team. I think some people thought NCAAs was a good possibility, or that they could easily be an NIT team, but they had never won more than 12 games together. And this is just vastly different from that. To be on, Cody Zeller's on the cover of Sporting News. Like they're on, the cover of everything. Everybody's picking them, either one or two. If it's not them, it's Louisville, more or less. And it is sort of drastic. And I think what they mostly said was, like we're it's not that we're not paying attention to it. We're not trying to block it out. We're not trying to act like it's not there. But we don't care about it. Like we're trying not to care about it. At the end of the day, preseason is preseason. You don't get any points for that.
Yeah, I think that's the thing they realize, is that you don't win anything for being on the cover of a magazine in the preseason.
It doesn't make much of a difference. But we're getting a little long here, but just a couple quick notes in case you want to know about injuries, and I'm sure you do. Maurice Creek says he feels great. He says he did say, there's probably some things I'm never going to be able to really do at the same level, the exact same level again. He didn't really go into detail as to what those were, even though I asked. But, it just obviously said, hey, you go through injuries, this is kind of how it is. But he seems confident. He seems like he's going to play, and I think it's a very interesting question as to what role he's going to play, because so many rules were sort of established on last year's team, and you kind of even could foresee what these freshmen were going to do. Mo Creek is still a tough ad to figure out, okay, where, you're already looking at this possibility of playing Yogi Ferrell and Jordy Hulse at the same time. Then you're looking at, you've got Vic and Will Sheehy, Vic Oladipo and Will Sheehy, who've played so much. Where do you put Mo in for that? Where does Maurice Creek fit in? And I don't think he really knows yet. I'm not sure if he, I think he's just kind of going to play it by ear. That's kind of what he said that Tom Crean told him, was just, take it easy, just let it come to you. Just play your role, just play what's there. Don't get, don't try to be everything at once. Just get back in there and take it easy. And I think that's sort of the direction they're going to head from that. Also, Hunter Pereira's back. He was out for a while with a foot injury. He's got the boot off, playing around. So he's been really fully healthy for about a week and a half. So he's been able to kind of he's working on getting his win back, and Janae is beating the crap out of him right now as well, trying to make that happen, because that's what Janae does. Real quick, anything to add? Because we're getting along.
No, that sounds like that about covers it. But it will be interesting to see what Mo Creek does bring. And you could tell, somebody asked Victor Oladipo about Mo playing, and you could tell that what it would mean, just his presence and whatever little bit he can give him is
right. Just I think that he's going to play, considering what all he's been through. I mean, that many injuries, and he's such a well-liked guy on the team, and even obviously Vic, who might be in some ways maybe the most well-liked guy on the team, just because he's how much personality he has. I mean, Vic came in looking up to Maurice. That was the thing at the very beginning. They were both DC area kids. Played together in AAU and that kind of thing. Knew each other really, really well. Vic always looked up to him, and a lot of these guys looked up to him, and he hasn't been able to play this entire time, and I think it'll be a big lift if he gets to do anything at all. If he adds anything, I think that'll be big for them. So, but anyway, we got to cut it off. Thanks as always, everybody.